good evening, and welcome to what's today, May 27th, the open meeting law and the governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access may do so by visiting the Zoom link found on the town website. I ask everybody to please in the discussion, so we'll have a quick roll call vote. We'll also have a roll call vote for all votes. I'll act as a little bit less formal than I've seen in other meetings, so not all of the discussion needs to necessarily go through me, and try to, I guess, be conscious of giving everybody a voice. Is your hand, and I'll kind of cue you up if we need to do that. So I think we should just, in some of the other meetings, so I'd like to just try something a little bit different. So is everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
All right, process. So Sue was nice enough to send along the.
Yes.
Great.
Yes. Matt, just interrupt just for a second. Didn't you say you wanted to do a roll call first?
Sure, present.
Barry Smith.
Barry Smith is here.
Sue Fiacco. You need to take yourself off mute, Sue. Meetings, sorry, they're not meetings, they're webinars, similar to this. So we will invite anybody who's going to participate in the conversation, which are our public hearings. And then we have a meeting, which is a 5:30 meeting on Thursday. Agenda items, obviously, to go through the various budget items.
That we need a quorum for every single day. And I'm anticipating that through the chair evening, so that we can not save it all to the very last day. It's going to be a very long.
Okay, so we need to be through it on. We need to be doing it through it on Thursday,
so that you all can look it over and we can send it out to print.
So you'll present and just ask for some patience, I guess. I know that we've had a lot of patience to get to this, and these obviously aren't ideal circumstances, and it's been challenging, unfortunately. So I've been doing the best that I can to get and to send along all the information that I think we need. You've obviously compiled all the information here. So is there anything that we can do to help you?
After everyone tomorrow, I'll be posting June 1st tomorrow morning.
Yep.
So they're basically the majority of the review.
Yep.
On that contingent budget that you had all seen, the one that Colleen had, draft motions from Becca, or something that'll have all of our numbers to move forward.
Commentary to me over email was essentially we're restoring things that were document that was sent along. So I just asked for essentially a line item description of what they were planning on. I don't necessarily know if all the motions are done, but
okay.
Hopefully they are. So
she just put in a request for access, and you need to unmute. Everybody has been contacted. I've spoken to all of the citizens petitions or emailed them all. I think that's where, they were supposed to respond by end of day today. I have not heard from anyone quickly. And to prepare packets, is fine, but I have not received, town clerk's office does not do it. So that's on my list for tomorrow morning to, with my server. I'm not on the server technically.
Okay,
So as you explained, I won't get into any of that, but it's been very challenging for everybody.
And that Rebecca is the most responsive and concise, so be of some value.
okay.
Thank
All right.
you.
So Sue, let's just, get 20 minutes and
Sure.
let's talk through, so, I can send some texts and emails and, do some chasing to, so we have to get through this, and so we've got to, let's go guns blazing tomorrow and make sure that we have the participation and engagement. Are any of the, so do you have any of the, sponsors of the citizen art? Okay,
Kelly coming?
Yeah, I'll be there.
Okay. So, we've had,
and out to all of the sponsors then of the citizen-led articles.
that is correct.
Okay, good. I think and so I think we want to have a very good perspective on those, as a committee.
Yes. No, I think we're good.
Let's see. Okay, that's good. All right. Let's see.
What I did notice in my printout, I hadn't printed it. It's run into each other. Hard to read. So if you printed, there it is. But it looks okay there.
All right.
So the separate paperwork, the departmental budget, and I included, the numbers that are in the annual and the, special. Is that crazy?
Yes.
That's how I've gotten that. That's how I've gotten that.
I don't think that's changed.
Is that what was in the original?
And there was some discussion about one of the fire trucks that had a grant, but that's like a reimbursement grant. So they're going to move forward with free cash eventually. Has anybody else heard anything different in terms? I believe it was sent to all of us.
Okay.
So.
All right, I will hunt it down, or we will talk tomorrow.
Budget. Just give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down.
Tim's presentation last night.
Awesome.
It should have something.
Okay.
Warrant article recommendations that Sue put together. Just one at a time. All right.
So many of these are simply,
What's that?
You're talking special town meeting, right?
the
Yeah, I think so.
The
going
recommendation
to be going through these, is just assign them out and kind of browse through them and see which,
to vote on the recommendations.
right. We vote on the finalized one, right?
To approve the article, and then the recommendation is reviewed.
Oh, I see.
So what I'm asking is, there's no reason why we just don't move to support that article and okay the recommendation as drafted.
Agreed.
So that's,
Question.
Sure.
So it says that we recommend acceptance of the printed annual and any other reports. Have we seen the?
in the document. You know, you want to read 300-400 pages before we vote to approve it. It's each department.
Oh, I've read it because I remember sending you some notes on it, Mark.
I do remember that, yep.
Yeah. Okay, I just wanted to double check.
Okay. So I have a motion and a second. Any,
Town report, yeah.
no, we have not received that.
We haven't even written our part of that.
The town report.
Please correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes. we
No,
have.
no, we did.
Okay, never mind.
Thank you,
We've not seen the waiver. By roll call.
Roy, I.
Add, I.
Well,
Aye. Motion carries. All right, Article 2.
Do we know who they're nominating?
I do not.
The operating budget of Blackstone Valley Tech in the amount of $721,070.
second.
Barry.
We don't have any room for arguing that they try to cut it down to match what's happening.
Have to do is you'd have to get a bunch of towns together. I think there's 13 that participate. You'd have to get 8 or 9 to get that. I don't think that's a feasible approach for this town meeting. But I think it's something that we could have a discussion about. Share similar concerns. But it really would have to be a fairly well coordinated effort and not something that could, but also they do run a pretty tight budget at BVT. So
That did hold a joint conference with all the other school committee members from the other towns.
towns have bigger issues than we do. So it was Millbury that originally contacted me. They're facing about a 2 million, and BVT's kind of an obvious one. Any other discussion on this?
Sure that I know that they run a tight ship, and I think BVT is a great school, but with all the uncertainty past this, without there being some effort on our part as well as the other town, and they're going to have to too. I just have trouble with, okay, they get to be, quote, made whole as everybody voted on their budget. I'm struggling with that, and I know the deadlines are tight. I also know that are going on 1/12 budgets because they have to wait until their budget gets passed by all the towns, but in the meantime, which is not available to the regular districts, to go on a 1/12 budget, and that's recognizing the unique.
I guess my perspective on this is there's no reasonable basis for an ask at this stage. Try to figure out what's reasonable. And we've got town meeting in 3 weeks. So
October, okay, and we're saying, oh my God, hey, the town comes to us and says, look, our receipts are down. Are we able to do that? Are we able to go back, or are we stuck with this once we vote it in? And if, knowing that I can't change it.
Mr. Haddad. Yes.
I believe that 721 is our minimum contribution, so regardless of what happens, I mean, we should clarify that, but that was my understanding.
Well, there's two components to it, right? It's the debt.
My son, I mean,
Right.
And
So
I know that once, 7 of the 13 towns, that's right, we have to come back to town meeting and vote on it.
right. So even if we were to ask them for a 5%, from a pragmatic standpoint, I, I just I don't think there's much we can do at this stage. All in favor by roll call.
Aye.
Roy, I.
And Cool, nay.
Smith, aye.
Kutcher, aye.
In the amount of 48,491.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Roy, I.
Cool, aye.
Smith, aye.
Kutcher, aye.
Off the FY21 budget.
I have some questions.
Yeah.
Budget is and what the impact is based on the proposed budget of the town administrator under Article 5. What are the reductions in the main budget? I mean, how do we know what this is? I have lack of information, and
Yeah.
members of the board have no idea what they're voting on and discussing. So how was we as a finance committee, taxpayers, know exactly what we're voting on when the select board has no idea what they're voting on, and I have no idea what the town, understand the impact of the school budget? Somebody answer me that question?
So the schools, our Calzin was sent along 1-3 is where they ended up, and then they took another 50 off of that. So
What does that give everybody the same pay and you know, there's a morale problem and we need to support and I really want to understand what the actual school budget is and what the impact is to the education of our
here
children.
with us, Colleen.
So I actually emailed Jay about that additional $52,000 this morning. I'm gonna fill those positions, and then 2,000 was from the technical budget,
Got it.
technology.
And so that's so you know they had to let some positions go to be able to bring on they really need those so those two power positions were on top of what they had already cut. But I think that's a good question for them. They've just added those two additional positions to make up that 52.
So we obviously.
And I think we definitely need to understand the impact on all departments. There were a number of reductions that were made in the post services, and what was the thought process behind how those decisions were made?
And according to a member of the board last night, you know.
Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. Any other questions on?
Not any until Tim comes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I have questions I'd like to ask Tim.
Sure. Tell your kids to quit streaming. Mark.
Yeah, I'd ask the finance committee, I know I can't.
Not invited to school in.
So I would suggest, and I would ask the finance committee not to make any decisions on the budget until we.
Town will vote on Article 5, and then they will vote on Article 6.
Yes.
The override has to pass for 6 to go into effect.
Right.
That's why it's a contingent budget. If it doesn't, if the override That's Article 6.
They did spend it wrong. Yeah, so and then if Article 6 fails, gotta come back, and. Okay. So we can talk. Do we want to talk through the contingent budget now?
I do.
All right. I had a feeling.
Is there a way to see the entire, without losing the top? Okay. So up a little bit,
Hang on a sec.
214,820 goes right back to the school budget to bring them up to their so the total amount for the override is the 832. So, my feeling on this of 2%, and that's what this article does. So I cannot support any of the personnel. This is what the town administrator is putting back into the operating budget. He's asking me to raise my taxes to get, so I'm gonna make a motion right now that the 832, 363 be reduced by 6.
I have a motion.
What was that number?
Personnel adds up to 68,549. I can double check that.
No, it adds up to all of the raises above 2%.
So this
And
is
the
what you're telling me.
Might have missed one.
Hold
You're
on.
very close.
If you give me a second, please.
Budget.
So if you would like to second it, then we can have discussion about it.
Second.
All right, then let's,
What the original override was intended to do.
Exactly my
they were-
concern as well.
right, so what you're saying is,
Go
To balance FY21. Taking out marijuana, things like that, when they had to reduce the revenues. These are the cuts they had to make. Why weren't we marrying in more of what the override was intended to do? It's not a COVID bailout, but it's feeling that. It's not for all of it. That was like the 600,000. So the stabilization only doing part of it.
town administrator and see what his perspective on this is.
While we're doing this, there should be no salary increases, no new jobs. Identified what we really need for an override. So, look, we've all been through that. You lose people because of that, the ones who are really good. And IBM, Oracle is for the town administrator to propose, making sure everybody continues to get their salary. I think it makes no sense to offer any salary increases, and I would go to eliminate salary increases for those guys also. I know there are contracts, there are unions.
Mark,
Yeah, so I thank you, Colleen. I went back and added, and I missed a. So it's 832,363 minus 7242. So the override contingent budget would be Article 5. I apologize. I thought there was something in the contingent budget, but it's actually in the main budget that I'm opposed to.
I think we should hear from the town administrator and understand what the thought process. I also feel like the select board and the town administrator had a fairly lengthy discussion, making personnel decisions on behalf of the town administrator and the municipal side of the budget. But
Personnel decisions would be who's going to serve in that role and what the base salary of that position is going to be. What we're doing, I have a problem going above 2% and putting it back into the budget in an override budget. It sends a bad message. This is a bad message. And one member of the select board responded to my letter saying that she agreed with me and then last night voted town administrator. This is a mistake. It makes my blood boil to see that we're going to give raises in the school department, and we're throwing raises in. I love the town clerk. I think she's awesome. But giving an additional $10,000 of the vote, we're not making personnel decisions. We're voting what the budget should be. We're not eliminating jobs. We're not creating hard stance here. We lose a town meeting, we lose a town meeting. But I think the message has to be clear. If we're going to support this override, then we have to do it in this disaster that we're dealing with now. And we think it's a good idea to put raises back into the budget.
Mark, on this, we're not making personnel decisions. Our job is to oversee the finance. And if they are making a mistake, whether it's personnel or equipment or supply, and I agree, what we're saying here is no, this does not make financial sense. It is not the report, what Mark said, and thus, support his amendment at this time.
Point out, I struggle with the highway expense of $150,000. 100,000 of that can be used with chapter in the tree fund, which Tim assured us would not impact anything that the trees need to have done. So
okay, I guess I'll just have my each of these positions are going to get, and that's the basis that I am saying that we're making personnel situation, and there are reasons behind the compensation amounts that are. I can definitely be convinced. I'm open to the discussion. I think the articulating what we're proposing with the town administrator, and we should have that discussion before we start amending things. And so I think I'm not going to support this particular motion at this time. Additional things that Colleen wants to bring up, and I guess what I'd like to see is a more comprehensive look on the contingency budget.
discussion with Tim.
Yes.
We
I'm not
can,
withdrawing my motion.
Mark, about raises, and the only mixed feeling that I have about it is true, we don't want to give raises because the school department then and all their contracts. I don't know.
I think we need to get their perspective on this as well.
Did the schools give above 2%?
And I just don't know.
They're in the process.
And that's where I feel like I would like to get a little bit of more information on it.
Let me just add something on the school budgets. And I don't know if they did this analysis or not, to the rate. There's the cost of living, which moves them from a fiscal year 20 to a fiscal year 21 salary schedule. So you can say, gee, we got them to agree to not take a cost of living. Most of them are still getting a raise because they're getting an increment. Maynard Works getting about 6%, because of their movement, on the steps and lanes. Look at the two different components. And again, it gets dicey and it gets very interesting.
Go ahead, Dan.
So, the way I see it, these things were due to COVID, and separately for safety. So now this contingent budget is capacity for covering the reduced revenue nature of the override in a way that I'm not really comfortable with. Had said, let's increase the amount of the override so we can cover these things and also do the same. That I think would have made more sense, but this is just cutting into, and I honestly don't think.
Yep, that all makes sense to me. Any additional discussion? Oh,
Add
Go ahead.
yes.
go ahead, Sue.
Mark, you just withdrew your motion.
No, I didn't.
Okay, so what is the amount? Does the amount include,
One. That's the recommendation of the finance committee that I would like to make to town meeting.
Oh, just because I think I might want to have it reduced further. So we'll talk with Tim and possibly reduce it further.
Jason?
Okay, cool. Mark, I'm gonna say this time, so I'm gonna join Colleen and
I've been saying for the same reasons Irene gave. There,
Like, I'm on the select board, oh God, no.
McHugh, nay, same reasons.
Okay, Matt, give me just for a second. I
Yeah.
have to step out for about 20 minutes or so.
Okay,
I will be from a stroke. So I got a couple things I got to take care of, but I will be back.
okay. The contingency budget, I think, yeah, let's make sure that we organize our thoughts. Is there any additional discussion on this? So Colleen, did you want to just talk generally about, some of your other concerns? So,
I guess just maybe like a general question for everyone would be the two warrant articles that work. And that's the fire department equipment and the police department.
so I would think that if the contingency budget were approved and the override passed, then you wouldn't need.
Override vote.
That's the problem. You're voting 102,000 and whatever the other number is, have the equipment. So now
Right.
you're gonna have a town meeting appropriation. You're going to have a budget appropriation. And if that, I would personally have said, why don't you just wait until the fall town meeting and fund those at the fall? See what
Sure.
happens with the override, but
A few days after the election, and we would have known one way or the other if we had the override.
But I guess that's my question. We know we need this. That's why they're being put on warrant articles. Why are they
Right.
also being included in the contingency budget?
That's why it is what it is. I don't think cuts it because I don't understand. I'm not sure what I should. And I'm wondering if maybe I just don't understand this, but this doesn't. I'm
And just kind of talk that through with him.
So those I think were pretty much all my questions for that.
Got it. All right.
hey, Matt, just really quickly,
I'm gonna go up to sir. Yeah.
on the, I think that's a mistake in a tight year. I've heard no justification as to why that position was dumbfounded by that logic. Because the schools did it, we're gonna do it Monday, and unfortunately I won't be here.
Okay.
I just wanted to alert the finance committee to my position on that.
I have the same question.
To that,
Yeah, no worries. Barry?
on that issue, I've heard, I would like to hear, and then if we're comparing it with the school HR person, what do they do? It just seems to be a little bit of, in my mind, confusion as to who's doing what and why.
And it didn't make sense to me, the discussion that was going. And that included adding some additional responsibilities to some of their staff on some money, but the people that took on additional work ended up getting compensation increases. So to me, to take hard knock.
And the town administrator, not this past week, but the week before, when talking about the justification to make sure that people were taking the right health plans and then ultimately saving us money. Well, open enrollment is one to understand how that argument makes sense for the other other 50 weeks throughout the year. And if a new employee gets hired, well, this.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Okay. So that's the cable TV budget.
I make a motion that we support Article.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor by roll call?
Smith, aye.
Off tonight. Did you go, Dan?
Yeah,
Sorry.
Gusher, aye.
And did you go, Sue?
real quick to get that is a firm number. I've asked, go through it with us. I know it's going to take all of 3 seconds for them to do that, but I don't know if that's the number. That is correct.
And I'm comfortable that they have the revenues to support their budget.
Okay.
Yep.
As it presents.
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, very good. Article 8.
I say we pass over it because we have no idea what the capital budget is.
Sent to us through. We can take a look at it and we'll talk about it. That's fine. All right, Article 9.
Mine is presented in the amount of $498,500.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
McHugh, aye.
Roy, I.
Smith,
Off and
aye.
aye. Mark?
Oh, I, sorry. Yeah, I make a motion we support Article 10 as written.
Second.
I have
Robbins, aye.
McHugh, aye.
Roy, I.
I.
Gusher, aye.
off.
Presented.
Second.
Spending limit set.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion?
And pay utilities for One Grafton Common? I'm a little,
And Barry, so I wouldn't be overly concerned about that because obviously it's the rent that's taken in that building. It's money in and money.
Thank you.
That's right. Yeah, this is the up to number. Dan?
I might be, and I have some vague memory about like maybe needing to move that before 11 or something.
Relative to Article 12, the rec department revolving account was the position that they were proposing.
So the Article 11 doesn't.
All in favor?
I.
Robbins, aye.
Roy, I.
We've got the Recreation Department revolving account.
Yeah, make a motion, we support Article 12 as presented.
Will there be any summer programs for which this position would be supervising? Get the money, appropriate the money. But we don't necessarily have to expend the money.
No,
That's right.
it's like any operation.
Municipal accounting.
Yeah, so this just sets the account.
This is the new account,
That's
correct?
right.
Add.
Robbins, aye.
Roy, I.
McHugh, aye.
Fire Department Insurance
We don't
Supplement.
have an amount right now.
Right.
So why don't we wait till we get the amount?
Yep, makes sense. Okay.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Deny. Motion carries. All right, Article 15 is unemployment comp.
Move to support Article 15 as presented, the amount
Robbins, aye.
Roy, I.
McHugh, aye.
Kusher, aye.
Smith, aye.
Off the eye.
is presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Add.
Smith, aye.
Off the eye. Motion carries. Okay, Article 17 is
17 and
the,
18, you want to hold explanation that we have in there.
yeah,
You can't pass over it because the override vote takes place after the town meeting.
and so if the
It says,
override
if you
budget
read that, it says
passes,
if it passes successfully, the funding will be passed over. But you're voting to approve the money placed 3 days later.
Right, you're gonna tie this up at least until October town meeting when we
Yeah,
can.
you'd have to
Take back.
rescind the vote.
okay, yep, that makes sense.
So 17 and 18, that we should skip over.
Yep, all right.
Oh, I
But
make
this
a
is where the
motion.
old DPW garage sits.
DPW, that's right, yep.
Yeah, move to approve. Aye.
Robbins, aye.
Roy, I.
McHugh, aye.
Kusher, aye.
Okay, we've got some amendments from the
Planning board, but it is planning board.
Oh, no, I understand that.
bylaw.
So should we wait till we hear from the planning board? Or the town administrator?
This is the
Oh,
zoning,
it's to support, okay, you call Gateway, okay, I move we support Article 20 as presented, I didn't understand it. Thank you.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Robbins, aye.
Roy, I.
McHugh, aye.
Hey, does anybody know what the kind of fine?
I remember we talked about, last fall, we talked about testing, right? Is
Yeah,
that-
I did too. I'm just not,
Clarification.
I'm not close enough to it to really, because I know that the town had some concerns about acceptance of property at Lottie Drive.
Let me see, how did they put that?
Oh, so this is a housekeeping article to correct, error to was presented.
Okay.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
No. Motion carries. Sale of surplus property.
Move to approve Article 23 as presented. Property up for sale.
Oh, this is like old police cars and stuff. Okay.
Correct.
Mhm.
Yep, got it. All right, I have a motion.
Aye.
Roy, I.
McHugh, aye.
Kusher, aye.
Smith, aye.
Off tonight.
Should wait till the CPC comes in.
Do we have them coming in, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I have questions for them.
Okay. Well, let's see, let's go through them. So we have, CPC reserves, we've got Pal Farm, Grafton Town, Article 30.
So-called super park.
Okay, so Article 30 is, I might have too. Okay, so this is the transfer to the capital stabilization.
Move to support
Municipal
Article 30 is
capital.
capital stabilization.
That's
But
critical.
I'll tell you what, Matt, I'd make a motion that the finance committee move to,
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Why would we pass over?
One exception of capital stabilization fund has been changed to municipal capitalization funds in our accounts anywhere, but this one is special, so that's the reasoning. Any additional discussion on that motion to pass over 30? All in favor?
aye.
Peralt is spelled incorrectly.
Often aye. Motion carries. I will take a motion on our question on the motion.
Yes. Peralt is spelled incorrectly.
Peralt is spelled incorrectly?
Apparently, yes. Eault.
I just thought town meeting should have the opportunity to reallocate that money now that the project is a new project, fine, but if they don't and they wanted to fund our capital backlog, I thought they should have the opportunity to do that.
Got it. Right.
Money that was raised by donations.
That's
No,
correct. This money came out of overlay and it was transferred out of overlay and in my estimation doesn't represent what was it originally voted on. So I'm going to support this. I agree.
31 and 32 are really same thing.
They are not. So we're still discussing.
Roy, I.
McHugh, aye.
Kusher, aye.
Aye.
Say again, Barry. It takes the money and essentially reallocates it to other parks.
Okay, and
We could wait until we hear the petitioner on this.
The one that we just supported, because
I agree.
we want that money to go back to the municipal stabilization. Recommend against Article 30.
I'm gonna second that.
I have a motion and a second. And
Destination of where the funds should be going.
No,
important for all of this CPC stuff, right? Ideally, because they talked in the select board meeting last night about important to make sure that the citizen articles come first, because then as we talk about the CPC articles under the project, CPC is not going to be able to cover it, and they're not going to be able to amend CPC. You're putting yourself in a situation where if you're passing the CPC article, you can't fully fund the project. So I agree with Mark's commentary on that. My preference, my strong preference would be to return funding other capital needs.
I agree. I don't want the money directed back to the Recreation Commission.
I agree.
relation of what you can use community preservation money for.
no, this is same money that Colleen talked about that came out of
Yeah.
overlay. So this doesn't.
Special account, and we said that's going to be used for a super park that was proposed with a certain scope. A little bit of that money's been sitting there. And all of these citizen articles essentially transfer that money out into 2015.
5 years, okay.
Yeah.
I know, Matt, that we have did we vote on this?
We have,
Motion was to oppose.
Yeah, my motion was proposed. I thought Sue seconded it.
I seconded it.
Oh,
Okay,
that's- okay.
For Article 31, but I think we should take a moment to consider what we would do if our still oppose it.
I would still oppose it. I don't want it to go back to recreation. I don't think that's right.
I agree with Heather.
No longer a super park project is better than having it go back to Recreation Commission for other parks.
So my opinion is, that if 31 fails, and so to me, there's no point in discussing 32 if 31.
You can't move that, you can't funnel that money to the other parks. I just don't think that's right.
Yeah, that's fundamental specific. 32, it's not a real specific project necessarily.
Robbins, aye.
Roy, I.
McHugh, aye.
Sure, I.
Smith, aye.
CPC. All
But
right.
can I just say something?
Of course.
I know we're gonna wait for the CPC to come in. It's bread. They can say it's gonna improve economic development. It's something that the town was promised, all the arguments.
Yeah.
I think the finance committee needs to adamantly oppose this and, if this is bad optics.
Well, in 2015, the finance committee did not support Super Park either. They got
Yeah,
up
so
and,
it
Getting concerns about commentary that was made by CPC themselves in terms of this is a very large amount of which would prevent us for several years for doing any other large projects. And I have some very grave concerns about this until I think it's Pell Farms all paid off. That to me, you're preventing yourself. I also didn't love the visioning process for it. There was no kind of indicative pricing. It just was, they don't have a price tag to it. So I just generally didn't like the approach that we took on it. But my main concern on this one is just,
The whole entire process was really just aiming for how much effort has been put into building support and doing outreach for the super park. Infuriating.
oh, haven't you seen the website for the override, Dan?
I have not.
I've seen
we
one.
don't.
I've
Okay.
seen one for the super park. I haven't seen anything for the override. It's remarkable.
At first, I thought that blows my mind that there is no effort to get the override passed, but there's so malpractice. It's maladministration.
I also think,
infuriating.
I understand that the park, that it's almost like, it's like a snowball effect, because everyone knows about it, and I've said this, every now and again, people will see on Facebook, oh, come join the town meeting or the meeting about the override out there.
No, I've
Because
been
the
having
town's doing
people reach
nothing.
out saying, what are all these vote yes
Yep.
signs?
but in
Exactly.
fairness, the override has,
But see, my thing with this though is they're done so many outreach meetings. They've done nothing for the override.
I agree. They have done some stuff, right? You can't do this now, but we went door to door talking to people and begging people hard to get the word out.
Well, the way other towns do it is they start having the discussions, different meetings, and you ask the public, what do you want to do, public? Because we have a funding gap in a couple of years. How big's the number? How long do you want it to last? You ask all those questions and you get that temperature check for what people will, then you market it, because ultimately it's the select board saying, this is our strategy. We want an override for your voters that they've engaged with. And we didn't do any of that. So
No, and you're right, because what's been helpful and how we've been getting by with the budget that we have. When it all of a sudden hits us, we're hitting everybody. Right.
Right. I mean, that whole GSC committee, like, that's the other thing. Smart towns have options that, we've done the analysis, we've looked at the data, and basically the town is where it is. It'll reduce the tax increases year over year. It's just, we haven't had any of that infrastructure. We haven't had a substantive discussion. So aggressively marketing that, and then just a lack of strategy or public information, even not marketing it, page anywhere, any Facebook outreach or anything from the town that's official. So voters are having to depend on.
Coming from the town, so it's almost like they're wondering, is the town even backing this? Like, who's backing this?
The town is not. It was a very lukewarm, will let voters decide, and they've done nothing to promote it.
But one of our meetings with Tim came to finance committee, I think in January, berated Dan for having an opinion on it.
I remember
Yeah,
that.
and that I'm not allowed to have an opinion.
All right. Cemetery perpetual care funds.
Move to approve as presented.
Second,
I have a
McEwen.
Smith,
Sure,
aye.
aye.
off tonight. Motion carries.
Move to
Any discussion? All in favor?
add.
Cool, I.
Robbins, I.
Roy, I.
McEwen.
Move to approve Article 37 as presented.
Second,
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Kusher,
Smith,
aye.
aye.
Off tonight. Motion carries. Okay, we have a citizen's petition for scheduling
I
time.
never heard the name of the petitioner ever mentioned in a single select board meeting. I have no clue who sponsored this.
Oh, okay.
And I
Okay.
contacted her today and she said at this time, she's not willing to present.
Second.
Present, why should we even consider it?
I have a motion
Ridiculous.
and a second. Any discussion?
So, and what I really don't understand is why such a big deal was made missing one word when this article is so ambiguous and just so no effort was made to inform no effort was made during that meeting or that I mentioned it. And I just don't understand why they would even talk about this at all. It blows my mind.
Well, in fairness,
Leah, did she say she didn't want to present at all, even at town meeting?
This morning, she said present. There was nothing positive or negative. We've never had to deal with patient. So it's very confusing. I just don't know how far to.
Do you think you meant today to come in?
A date and a time. And I will talk to her again tomorrow.
Okay. Colleen?
signers on the petition, if they would like to present it, there's more than one person behind this petition that might want to stand
Yeah.
up and
And this is the first time in a very long time that we do not have a list of.
Here on this? It seems like a logistical thing to me, and I know the schools had some concerns with
But on whether this article can be salvaged. I mean, the change it's Violet needs to change. I would be curious if this can actually be amended to have the effect.
Without a change in the bylaw, it's dead on arrival. It cannot be voted in.
Right, because the dates for town meeting.
In theory, the town moderator should say, this warrant article is invalid as written.
Present in front of others with a citizen's petition. Some of us have had that experience. It seems to be an attempt at getting a better time for more idea. And maybe people will stay longer if they have, if it starts at, I'm also surprised that our town moderator has not looked at this and said, well, you need to also reference.
I agree with the intent of the article, Ray, about his views on the logistics, and maybe some other input on that. But from people who know more about it, this can be amended to be a valid article. And I really would like an answer as to why this whole thing with the other article being removed and being asked for more signatures and striking this difference in the loan compared to other town meetings.
Sure. Okay. All right.
I
Right.
know the select board and the school committee met with the seniors at the
Yeah.
senior center, and the senior center, the seniors wanted to have where it came from. And
Got it.
was kind of gave the impression that they liked that idea.
Okay, that makes sense to me. My opinion on this particular article is that there hasn't really been any analysis. There hasn't been any real, there's going to be winners and losers in terms of whether it's more or less accessible, because you've got, family. I'd like to see just a little bit more actual analysis on whether this would actually help. But I like the idea of making town meeting more accessible, but I just don't know if this necessarily would get us there. So, discussion. I think we have a motion to not support.
Roy, I.
McHugh, aye.
Pool eye.
Smith, nay.
Sure.
Suss this out. We should suss this out a little bit, but my sense personally is just it's going to be tough to change my opinion on it. But our Article 39 is recreational marijuana.
I signed this petition, so I'm in support of this amount allowed, I
Correct.
believe. Yeah.
Yeah, correct.
I move to support Article 39.
Retailers from 2 to 3.
Correct.
All right. No discussion. Huh. All right. Barry. Yeah, they're all being built out. So we've got 3 active developments that are happening. I don't think we have any opening dates. We don't have any operational licenses from the CCC or anything like that. Let's move at pace, but it's fairly, there's been a lot of activity for sure.
Okay.
It's been invited.
Excellent. So I'd like to hear from him, but all right. Any additional discussion?
This Bruce?
Yep.
This is Bruce. Yep.
Pool eye.
Smith, aye.
Off tonight. Motion carries. Okay.
There's 2 gentlemen. They have not had a board, as a result, has not accepted the roadway.
So
They're hoping
if it
everything-
doesn't accept the layout, the town meeting can't vote on this article.
That's correct.
And they have to hold the hearing 7 days prior to town meeting. Do they have it scheduled?
So should we pass over this?
I would.
Okay, I'll take a motion.
Add,
Oh, hang on a sec. Sorry, Dan.
I'm confused. Are we recommending Pastor before town meeting?
The processes have not been completed yet to actually oppose passage is what we would do. We wouldn't pass over it, Mark, I don't think.
Okay.
My motion to say that we recommend opposing passage of this article.
Gather and accept it.
Yeah, we could.
Yeah, I think don't we normally in our recommendation say that we
Just table this until we come back next week.
I table it, Irene.
Okay, I withdraw my motion.
Yeah, I signed this petition too, Matt. I'm sure you're shocked by all the signatures.
Wow, I also signed this one.
I
Any discussion on the motion?
Something about that age 55 and over thing that just gets me.
love it too, Barry.
Housing development and
I
Grafton.
agree.
So Ed Presby has been invited to come to our meeting on Wednesday night.
Fun.
He's been very articulate about this at every select board meeting. I've heard from Ed. I support it. I don't think
We convey the property to the Grafton Affordable Housing Trust. And then it says for nominal contest they get the property.
I believe that's true. Yep.
Now you have the property. And they
the
have,
way this article is written, the only thing the Affordable Housing Trust can do is construct a senior affordable housing unit.
so what is the time frame on that? In other words, can they refuse it? In other words, can they turn around and say, but if they accept it, then they have to build it.
That is correct.
Okay, what would be the time frame?
Have something in it.
You'd have to ask Ed.
Okay. Because that would be one of my questions is, how do we not have the,
Doing anything with that property for the last 40 years or so?
Yeah.
It's been a long time. Very nice grassy field. I'd love to have him have a forum to discuss it, and I do have some logistical questions. All right.
Very efficient, Mr. Chairman.
All right, so we, I don't know about that. Let's do. There we go. Okay. We have,
We have nothing. We do not have figures. We don't have anything in particular. On,
Article 2, I make a motion, we support Article 2 as presented. In
Second.
the amount of 81,000.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Is this amount lower than what we've had in past years?
Yeah, it looks lower, Barry.
It's significantly lower. Payment of prior fiscal year bills.
Do we know what the bills are?
yes, please.
I agree with that. Sick and vacation.
Move to approve as presented
I have no idea.
article.
I don't know for
Oh,
sure.
you don't know for sure. Oh, okay, never mind. Wait till the town administrator comes in. I
Yes,
agree.
please. Mhm.
Sorry,
Housing.
move as presented.
Are these numbers correct? They're usually not,
Right.
Oh,
because
all right, so then we should wait till the CPC comes in then.
All right. Article 6, we have.
Does CPC divide whatever money they get over all four funds equally every year?
Historic preservation. Total amount, 10% goes into each bucket.
Right.
The rest stays unallocated.
Have an easement for Mass Electric National Grid.
Do we know what this is for?
Okay. Let's see, leave provisions on,
I'm confused about why this would be at the sole discretion of the town administrator. Why
This is the personnel bylaw. So he would have the right to extend the vacation carryover.
And
there's
he's
a,
because of COVID.
motion and a second, yeah. Any discussion?
I-
Just, any outstanding liability?
If you're allowing a carryover of more than the 10, agree to allow the carryover vacation past June 30th because people aren't able to take their vacations out of town because you have to pay out vacation.
Right.
But I don't think there's gonna be a drastic amount of carryover. I think it's
Has he thought about what that number might be?
sure he has that. I'd be shocked.
All in favor?
Had I.
Robert's eye.
Roy, I.
McHugh,
Cool.
This is our IOU for stabilization.
And this is the one that we were able to make heads or tails.
Does anybody know what the number is? Because I always like to find out once you paid off that 200.
I've not heard a number.
I think you should wait to hear from him next week.
Put it all in stabilization.
Pre-COVID.
I don't mean to laugh, I'm sorry.
It's been interesting watching approach the different towns take. They've definitely they come into this whole COVID situation with very different starting conditions. Feels like that, right? Okay, fine. All right, that's that. Let's see what is next on. We've reviewed those. Do people wanna sign up for?
I'll take the marijuana and the affordable housing.
Okay, let's do numbers here.
So can we just assign the,
I've got some that, I have some written out.
that's this.
So on we're back to the annual.
All right.
Right here, do you want to stay on the, okay, so annual. Somebody would like to take a stab, pro and,
I'll take 5 and 6.
okay, 5 and 6 is,
What was Article 8?
capital budget. I'm happy to take that one.
through 34.
Those are citizen ones, yeah.
I
Yeah, what
nominate
is it?
Colleen.
34?
Yep.
Okay.
And who is that? Is that Colleen?
Colleen, yep.
Thank you.
I'll take those.
That's Irene.
Yep.
Sue, when do you need them by?
I would love them by Monday, please.
Okay.
But how can I write say that again?
Tuesday sounds great.
Okay.
To a final wording, then we'll be fine.
Somebody's gonna have to fill me in.
Sue, the other question is 33 and 34 are CPC articles. Should we, or when we're waiting to talk?
On our discussion tonight.
Okay.
I know we haven't voted, but I got the impression that there isn't a lot of support on this.
Recommendation against, and then we have them chosen by the finance committee.
If we're prepared that way, that would be.
Okay.
If you already recommended the warrant article, you just write pro.
Right. Yeah, there's no need to.
Okay, never mind.
Okay. And in the special, it would be number 4, Article 4. It originally was a placeholder, so I really don't have an answer.
All right, I'm happy to take that one. It's extended leave. I'm happy to take that one.
Okay, that would be great. Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so Monday it is. Very good.
Hand a few off to me. Feel free. I wasn't trying to avoid work.
But Dan, remember there's more coming.
Okay. So now we have our discussion on budget tables. The post-COVID-19 budget table, the contingent budget. We don't have a recap sheet. I've asked, so I do have that. And then the override tax scenarios. I have the original presentation to the select.
I took screenshots of every slide if you need anything.
How do you guys want to navigate through this? Trying to, in a coherent way, really understand where we're at, the impacts to service levels in town are.
Just simply say, I don't know how the departments are feeling about us feedback. Does anybody, even care?
Well, I certainly.
And this whole COVID-19 where you can't have meetings with the public coming in and doing it by Zoom, trying to bring everybody in now before we make a decision on the budget, I think is unrealistic. We did not. How can we sit down and have a logical discussion with the departments when everything has been so disjointed? A lot of it's probably departments and had good meetings with them and discussed issues, and I'm sure a lot of you did as well. So
Yeah,
I don't see the need.
I think we started, Tim and I had a discussion. He asked for some relief from those budget discussions because scheduled those, and it eventually got to the point where I just essentially had a discussion with Tim and said, yes, to the committee that will ask the question, do we want to offer up an opportunity for any of the department heads that kind of comes to, she likes to come to FinCom to make her pitch and kind of, it's almost a little bit.
I think we should, if they want to come in and talk to us, we should, give them that when we're not. I agree with Mark that it's not going to be all that beneficial, but
Go ahead, Mark.
I'm just concerned that given the way work is being done remotely now and the difficulty that I'm just not comfortable doing under these stressful times. So I understand the plan, Dan, and I understand what you said, Matt. I think we should pass on it.
Well, they're not coming in, they're just dialing into a web
I don't
conference.
even want
A little bit more difficult, but Sue, did you have something to say?
Yes, I'm sorry, Sue Robbins.
Sue Rob.
Discussions, or if someone was discontented with their budget they didn't get exactly what they needed or wanted. There was reasoning behind it that we can all understand.
Library again. In the contingency budget, there's $17,000 for positions that might not even come on until FY20 to do that.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is, when I had spoken with Beth, because I was the one that said it was worthwhile, this was very early in it, I said, what if we, and in fact, it might not have been COVID, and they'd have just, her number one response to me was, I would do anything to keep my personnel intact. Personnel, and I don't have my notes in front of me, but she had mentioned the places where she would attempt to cut. I said at the time it was just kind of my own personal thing, like, gee, I want to see how people will answer this, not knowing that we were going.
It's sort of a post-COVID discussion with Chief Gothier. That's the only commentary that I've heard on that.
Well, the department heads I met with, there's,
Yeah, it seemed a little unusual that you would not get your department heads together. Okay. It seems like the temperature on the committee is that we leave it alone. Does anybody feel Beth, or just ask her questions? We don't have to have her in to present to us. We could just ask her the questions that we
Decide we wanted the schools to come in, because
Yeah,
nobody
I
knows
would-
what they're doing to their budget.
I'd love to hear from the schools.
I do.
They do have a right, I guess, to speak.
They've all been notified. That is correct.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see where we could get the schools in. Clarity around that.
Okay.
All right. Does the committee want to look at the budget? Do you want me to pull the file up and we can?
There are two areas in the budget. I mentioned one, and that was the human resources position. Wiggle room on the town side that we can talk about. I do have some areas. I don't want to get into it right now. I want to hear from with the human resources position, especially given the statements made by members of the select board last night. That is because after hearing from them, I'll get further into some of my concerns.
I know all of the schools in the state, our school department.
So that won't impact Grafton in quite the same way, right? Because to how far they can cut in Grafton, because unfortunately this is like the 1 year that being a minimal aid.
Example, the Student Opportunity Act, which most school business administrators assume has simply disappeared. Our Fall River, where that was millions of dollars. And if that goes away, that's a huge hit for them. They were counting on that. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, again, our exposure, as Matt was saying, is significantly lower than other districts.
Right. Which is, the increase is like 90 grand, I think. It's almost nothing.
Yeah.
So.
Would we see a decrease in the salary line for that?
Yeah, but I don't think you'll know before town meeting, Barry.
As I say,
It's a very important position.
Oh, yeah.
The person that was in the position was not one with,
Some significant chief financial officer experience.
And she came far and she's done a great job.
Oh, no, I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying in terms of, for example, if you're going to replace them, there's not going to be any savings. They weren't that far along. Whereas
Sure.
when you're with 20 years of experience, because
Right.
they're not usually job hunting.
That's fair. Go ahead, Sue Fiacco.
There's savings in replacing her.
Her P&T budget was very large. Keep that in mind.
Close consulting.
Correct. And it was
Yeah.
only what, Colleen, $3,200? Something like that. It wasn't a lot of money. It was in past years, so there wasn't a lot of money in there.
I have a question, Matt.
Yes.
I hear some eliminated.
It's back in the budget if the override passes.
Right.
The override doesn't pass, it's out of the budget.
Money and put a part-time assistant town planner that's more needed. That
Actually, so
Well-
I'm sorry to interrupt, economic development director. to keep that job in place. It's a
Let
matter
me-
of priorities.
What he said, Rafton, in the seminars, whatever, he said, that's fine. You know, he was happy, life was good. He said, what surprised trying to find people who might want to, you know, bring something to Grafton was how few people actually knew Grafton existed. So that we really, you know, we've got a recognition problem. So if you meet someone and you say, oh, you're from Massachusetts, you know, if you say you're from Boston, so that was, I just want to pass that along. So what is,
He does. I mean, to me, I mean, Joe Layton did a lot of economic development, actual economic development town planner, or getting a lot of things written up with the planning board and everything else. And they, where is that? I didn't see that. Where is that stated?
For $30,000?
30,000 is gonna get the assistant town planner.
It's that
3593
PDC.
was the economic
So-
development director.
This is planning personnel at 35.
Economic development director.
is
No,
that's
it-
how much we pay him.
Position is actually going to be the town planner, but has done nothing toward that. And that position is going to be, and I don't know how it's,
Got it. Okay. That makes sense to me. Go ahead, Colleen.
What's the going rate for an assistant town planner? I'm just asking because if we're gonna do that $70,000 for the raises above 2%, could that?
I mean, that still gets back though to things were cut for a COVID bailout.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, we're just bumping the override. We're not even, besides the
Right.
schools, not.
I think that sounds wrong, but I take your point, Sue. I didn't hear that I heard last night around that particular position was more around coordination once you've got people, the administrative aspects of doing development. That's you know one of the things. So I'd love to hear why we need that.
Yeah, the claim that it's impossible talking to hear that, it seems like this is one of those positions that, like your spend development, that will in the future lead to increased tax revenue. And it's like a really irresponsible use of money to me.
Yep. Well, and we
Like,
brought the position on as like a good experiment. Did it work?
Right. See, and although in the few years that we've been doing time to determine whether or not it was working, and it sounds like more than the opposite of that, the success of creating this role.
Right.
So
Let me give you an example that a certain number of bids come in. Now, I do know that John had a hand in some of that, so the question would be, can you do that? And I do know that at least one of the bids that came in, I think, was pretty much somebody saying, hey, I'll take it off your hands for because of his work. I don't know the answer to that, but I'm trying to explain why a position like that he's done this year, you're not going to see the results of that for at least a year or two.
Economic development specialist.
Got it. Perfect. Thank you.
So my concern though is, and I don't know enough about the details of it to give at all at any point, let alone at the beginning when they should have been. And even
Okay.
nothing
Yeah.
that just seems like a huge, very irresponsible use of money.
I'll volunteer, and they felt that they got, bang for the buck. So that's why we said, gee, let's try it. I will, do they have a job performance review? And let me see if I can get information from them.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll get back to you.
It stands to reason that there would be some way to measure the performance in
I
the.
would like to hear that, so thank you, Irene. I just the fact that that wasn't done, I just cannot wrap my head around how this is what we're doing in town. Like this, we have no intention of ever reflecting on and evaluating the use of taxpayer money. Like we need to have, we can't say this is an experiment, we're going to see how it goes, really. But like this is wrong. This is ethically wrong.
Good suggestion.
Okay. Is there, I think we've sussed out, hopefully we can get Beth in, to talk about some of the personnel issues in the library, the state of the town message. And so I haven't done much, well, let me say that, but the committee as a whole to kind of talk about what's the message that we want to get in COVID, and because of the override, this is a really rich year, I think, for finance committee to think about. I'd love some input and collaboration on this document so that it really represents go that direction. I think, I propose that we start with the document that Sue wrote up for last town this year. There's a lot going on.
I think this is, I think we should give a different type of message that, the next several years are going to be very, very interested to see that report and to see how we fare with other communities and how we can improve the delivery of service here at Raft.
For me, I think it's important to put some of the kind of boilerplate information in.
Yeah.
Right? Stuff like the bond rating. And I'd love to see maybe some commentary about the GSC, and to say that there's a lot of value in that process and that we would like to see some significant improvements in
A
the
whole stabilization paragraph, because I do think it was last year we talked about how dangerously close to being at that 5 or just below now.
we've been hovering at 5 to 5.1.
Where we say we always want to be.
I'm not sure if it gets us below 5. There's nothing magic about.
Well, no, what's magic about the 5 is that it is part of the bond rating.
5 isn't a magic number. If you're at 493, your bond rating doesn't instantly drop. A light switch, which if you go below 5, your bond rating goes down. It doesn't work like that. But I think it's an important message. The sun is shining, and we didn't do that. We had a lot of years.
We never do that now.
Well, and that's to shore our stabilization up, to do something more meaningful with OPEB and some of these other things, the wall, in a lot of different ways. So bad on us. So I think, that is sort of the flavor of the opportunities that we had, and emphasize what we could be doing better going forward. I think it's something that has been repeatedly mentioned in our audits, that essentially we don't have a plan, make some kind of headway towards, plugging the gap a little bit. So I'd like to see something that is more methodical, I guess. So things like that, I think. I'll shut up. What else do you got?
I am willing to contribute to this if you want to illustrate the words and numbers.
Little concerned about the time frame, but that was also one of my thoughts, is to try to make this a little necessarily. We could put some things up on screen and do more of a PowerPoint type of, you put some, I'm open to it.
I think considering how town meeting's gonna go too, a shorter but very effective message, might see that on the Jumbotron, or depending on where they're watching or listening from their cars.
Yeah,
So I think the message is,
I just spent a chunk of time illustrating the municipal data collection for the GS, illustrating some of the school stuff.
okay.
The basic concept is, look, I can show a gap,
Okay. I'm reluctant to set up a working group because but I think, so I'll ask for people to help that want to help in just a second. So let's start there.
And next Thursday.
Really?
Yep.
Can we get a,
Wow.
It doesn't have to be, what has happened in the past, is we literally were, still there's pros and cons to posting it, on social media, a little bit of development of attitude, or, if you all remember, it was like going to be presented, that's clear, concise, and correct. But you have the following week, possibly to meet.
that this is going to be done by Thursday?
I think if we want a real succinct message, it's for the town message.
I'd agree with that. So
Have another quick meeting. What's the big deal?
there isn't a big deal. So I think we should plan on that.
Okay.
Coming in as the chair this year, that was one of my kind of goals, was to reconsider, I guess, how varied over the years, but it's challenging for a town meeting, to listen to a lot of statistics, have it just be snappy, meaningful,
And
and
get
really,
use out of that Jumbotron.
absolutely, and just to the town, okay, we're in an unusual situation right now, but here's what finance committee is seeing, and here,
So Matt,
so
how will it look in the gym?
so they'll see big slides, they'll have some type of display, whether it's a projector.
Decide how you want to present.
Sure. I mean, look, people who are in, no matter where you're at, you need, yeah, so I'm not going to check, but I think we've got to assume that they're going to have access to visual presentation and a reason.
can I ask you a quick question? It might be a
Yeah.
little off topic, but, whatever happened to the finance committee column in the
I
budget?
don't know where it's at this point, to be honest with you, but
When was it removed? I don't recall that ever being communicated to us.
There's a promise from the town administrator that it would be added to the budget this year. I think we should ask him Monday night where it went.
Yeah, Rebecca said she was gonna add it back.
Yep.
yeah, all right. Well, we can ask about that on Monday. Oh, in terms of the town message then, so, trying to figure out.
Suggestion?
Of course.
I'm wondering if, because there's a lot of unsurety, as even though I would love to see what Barry stated, which was with some color and some, should be a written document that gets distributed.
My opinion is we need to modernize the way we talk about things a little bit and try to make
It's going to be an issue or not this year.
it could be, and we certainly could structure the I'll get to in just one second, Colleen, and we would augment that with some graphics, I guess is the way that I would propose it.
Okay,
So that if we just have to,
yes.
because people, when we talk about, levels of free cash and all that stuff in there in terms of trends, I don't care about what the free cash is this year. I want to these things. Stabilization is another thing, so what does that look like year after year? And is there a relationship to it all? And it's just not particularly valuable, I don't think. Go ahead, Colleen.
I kind of like what Sue was saying about registering to vote. I think there's going to be a lot of time sitting around at this town meeting, and people will be able to read and look at the graphics. So when
It's a good idea. Okay, who wants to help? How I collaborate on documents typically is just an iterative approach. I'll put an outline together of or just isn't going to make sense, or if there's anything to add, and we can just start kind of filling it in with what we want.
We need something that goes up that people can look at and instantly understand.
Okay.
Part that dominates. That's easy to understand.
Right. Barry?
Yes, you're right. Something that shows revenue sources and the 5 major expense streams. Yeah, that would be cool. There's a lot of information. The Department of Revenue, Division of Local Services website has in 1819-20. You can go ahead and do that, but the source of that information is not up on that website.
Right. Isn't it all based on your Schedule A?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the gateway and look, and it's all there. Yes, Sue.
I, however you presented, I'm now. We're going to go this way, we're going to go this way. And if we go this way, what's the ramifications this way? And it's drastic. What's going to happen? So, I mean, I'm going to be suffering some services that may be lost to them. And so, because we're at the point where it isn't anymore.
I would agree with you. I don't think that's our message. Go ahead, Dan.
I don't want it to sound doomsday either, but we need to be very realistic.
No, we got couching our, financial distress as anything other than what it is.
I agree.
I also dead set against the override, we spend too much, and this, that in our schools, and yet still get great results. And as far as the town side goes, we're pretty low and very favorable compared to the typical communities that we compare ourselves to. We are not, and I really think we need to drive that home. And recognize that just because we're not overspending, yes, we can, because that gets old, and it gets old real fast.
Sure. That makes sense. Go ahead, Barry.
And words.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Select a couple and include them in the right places, and then
and put them in warrant articles and play with them with one times money. I mean, we can't keep doing that. We can't keep going that.
Volunteering to help with the message.
Awesome. All right. Well, I think what I'll do then is I'll just stick it up in Google and share it. And whoever wants to kind of chime in, we can just build it out over the next week or so. I know that's a little loose, and if I don't see it progressing at pace, then I'll just do it, and that's fine too.
And so is that going to be restricted to?
Deliberation, it's a piece of material that'll be used to bring to a meeting. So is Mark Haddad on? Because he's like the open meeting law expert.
I think he dropped off.
To the open meeting law, but it's when we start collaborating through our emails, then we're going to be in trouble.
Right. Yeah. That's when I would be a little concerned.
Right.
Which is a natural thing to do.
Is
Okay.
there a 4 or fewer group of people who are actually interested in doing this, or we could maybe if we all want to do it, maybe we could have like a posted meeting where we just do.
Yeah, absolutely. We could do that. Okay. Do you guys want to have a meeting specifically on this to work on it?
For 8 of us, a smaller group makes more sense to me.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Just an agenda item. And then I could, in the meantime, put some things together for us to look off, who's not interested, and the rest could hang on, if that's all
Before
right.
you tie yourself into that, you do have something else.
Let's see. Okay, I'm just gonna work with individuals to get a look at, and then at least we can all reflect on it together to see if I'm on the right track. I'll do it that way. Okay, let's see,
It's a letter to Ray. Is that through an email committed, I had asked him if he was interested in renewing, but he did commit. If the committee will have him. An Excel spreadsheet that basically shows you who's up every 3 years. Yes, you did.
I thought everybody confirmed, yeah.
Just, Mark wasn't at that meeting.
I see. Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
So do you want us to vote on the memo, or are we good?
I know.
Sounds good. All right, we have outstanding bills. We have Gatehouse Media Internet reimbursement.
But we can do it again. That would be fine, actually.
All right, I'll take a motion.
How much is it for?
$84.
$84.
Alrighty.
Who was that second? I can't get these. Thank you.
QI. Robbins, aye.
Kusher, aye.
Smith, aye.
Off tonight. Updates from anybody?
We have another bill.
What we do?
Yes, it came later, but
For what?
Gatehouse Media for the legal notice for the public hearings we never. It is.
But I will take a motion.
Motion to approve the bill as presented.
Pay it, right, or sign it.
So motion to approve the bill as presented and to have Sue sign it on our behalf.
Roy, aye.
QI. Robbins, aye.
Smith, aye.
Kusher, aye.
Off tonight.